Hey guys, John here. So I got sort of a series of comments on the last episode that I did from Sir Joseph, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And this is actually one of the replies later on. I wanted to pull this out because I think it speaks more to the emotion of this, which is what I kind of wanted to address here. But earlier up in the chain, he had sort of said he was, having a little bit of trouble the last few weeks with Upwork, hadn't got as much work as he had been getting. And so forth. And so we kind of went through a back and forth. And then, I kind of told him you just kind of got to be dispassionate and unemotional about it and not get too wrapped up in it and just sort of focus on taking the right steps to move forward with whatever it is that you're doing. And so his response was, yeah, that makes sense. This hasn't been a good week for me. I got very well overwhelmed and it led me to be unproductive. I've never thought freelancing would be such a grind out of the gate, but it's either this or go back to doing some 9 to 5 stuff, which to me feels like 5 to 9 stuff because of the energy it drains from me. No going back. Boats have been burned. I appreciate the kind words. So this just, when I read this, it sort of really resonated with me because there's a few things, but the idea of a 9 to 5 feeling like a 5 to 9, that absolutely resonates with me. That's exactly how I've always felt about it, no matter what job I had. It's one of the things I talk about or think about when I talk about how, freelancing is sort of either in your DNA or it's not. It's like it's built into who you are or it's not. And, mine came from my dad and him being an entrepreneur and going to his offices and his businesses after school instead of going home and helping him, and sort of being involved in all of that. That just sort of put it into me, that sort of entrepreneurial spirit. And so, again, I really resonated with that. And then this idea of freelancing being such a grind out of the gate. It's true that a lot of people who encourage you to freelance, and I think they're well-meaning. I know I'm well-meaning. At times it do tend to glamorize it a little bit. And I think there are things glamorous, so to speak, about freelancing and reasons why you would want to do it and why it's better than a regular job, in my opinion, and so forth. And so, again, I think there's some truth to that, but it is a grind. There's things that you have to learn that you don't necessarily have to learn when you're doing sort of a regular 9 to 5 job about getting clients and marketing and all these different things. So at times it can be a grind and it can be overwhelming. But what I wanted to talk about today is I sort of think that there's a moment in every freelancer's career, right? Like sort of like Sir Joseph's going through here. You've got a few clients, things seem to be going well, but you're not exactly sure how it all happened, how you were able to get those clients, how it all came together. And you're maybe not making quite enough to feel comfortable. You'd like to make a little bit more. You're making enough to sort of get by, but it's just not enough to really do what you want to do with your life. And you can't help but worry constantly about what happens if you lose one of those clients and you can't get another one, or if you're constantly taking on new clients, if suddenly that slows down. And I think this is a turning point for freelancers. And if you figure it out, then you go on to a successful freelance career. If you don't, you sort of get stuck and you're unable to grow past that, and fear kind of takes a hold of you. And what happens is eventually most freelancers who stay in that position too long, who stagnate too long, end up giving up. Now, for me, it's what I refer to as the hockey guy. So it was a client I had, and it was a training membership site that I'd built for this guy. And he was sort of the client that put me over the top, that nudged me into that 6-figure range. And while that was great, it was weird because as more and more of that happened and that grew, I got more and more anxious because I sort of felt like it was all built on a house of cards, because I really had no idea how I'd done it. I just sort of got the clients and I didn't really know how or why. I didn't have an exact understanding of what I was doing right. And so I just kind of imagined it all. I just kept imagining it all falling apart and there being nothing that I could do about it. And I obsessed over it. My anxiety was, I was really anxious 24/7. I remember thinking, like, this is supposed to be a good thing, so why does it feel so awful? In the end, though, it ended up being a good thing for me because it drove me to dig deeper and actually figure out what was working and why it was working. And that is what ultimately led me from charging $50 an hour, ultimately up to $100 an hour. I got rid of some clients that were really dragging me down, and actually, even though they were, good paying clients, making my life a lot more miserable and making it harder for me to freelance. It caused me to get a lot more proactive in my quote unquote client getting and really understand how and why that works and what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong, what I could do better, and ultimately reach a point where I was getting 30 plus project offers a month, way more than I could ever take on or do anything with. I got one from a well-known internet marketer named Ryan Lee that I turned down. Another one from Leslie Samuel from Social Media Examiner. It ultimately, the point I'm trying to make is it just put me in a lot stronger position with a lot more peace of mind and certainty because I actually knew what I was doing. And it wasn't some magical thing. It just all came from taking the time to dig in and really learn how to market, how to get clients, and how to build a real freelance business that wasn't beholden to luck or chance or some freelancing platform, right? I actually knew what I was doing specifically, and I knew how to go out and get more clients and so forth. So, if that's the kind of thing that you're after, then maybe this is the kick in the pants that you need to turn that corner. And ultimately, the point that I want to make is get serious. This is a turning point. It's a decision time of, am I going to take this serious and am I going to start building a real freelance business, or am I going to sort of continue in this kind of hope marketing, just hoping things show up and not really knowing how or why, and being beholden to a platform or chance or luck or whatever. Right? It's a turning, or it can be a turning point where you really get serious and knuckle down and figure this stuff out. So hopefully if you're in that position, this is that for you. Anyway, what I learned during that time is also what I cover in my new Beginner's Guide to Freelance course. It's like I have said, it's the big rocks, sort of the chess moves to make to methodically build your freelance business with certainty over the next months and years and so forth. So you can get access to that over on Skillshare for nothing. You just go over to johnmorrisonline.com/freelance. You'll see all the details on how to get access and so forth. Again, that's johnmorrisonline.com/freelance. All right, that'll do it. Talk to you next time.